Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. For us, it's good afternoon. This is Time with the Rev. I'm Rev Ken, and today I have a special guest, Matt.
Hello.
Say hi, Matt.
Hello, everybody.
Today we're talking about growing up without religion and then coming to Christ. As Matt and I both didn't have religion in our lives. Well, for me, I had a brother who was 10 years older than I was, but he had me pray when I was 10 to have Jesus come into my heart. But being 10 years old, I didn't know what that meant. And you didn't have any brothers or sisters, right, Matt?
No, I'm an only child.
So you wouldn't have somebody who could pray Jesus into your heart.
No. Only child, and dad wasn't around, so my only direction was from the things I was interested in, like movies and video games and cartoons.
What'd your mom do if your dad was around?
She was working all the time. She was constantly working, so
who was around supervising you and watching you and all that?
I started being alone in the home, I think from like 6 years old and on. I had a babysitter very early on, and then for as long as I can remember, I was just by myself.
So around 12 to 15, you're by yourself?
Oh, even before that.
Yeah.
For the most part. She'd be gone all day. I would go to school, come back from the bus. I'd had my own key, and I was in the house by myself.
Oh, so you were a latchkey kid.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
And was there any spiritual direction that you had? Like for me, when I was growing up, I was on the heavy metal scene, and the spirit. And in high school, I took comparative religion, so I learned about different religions. And Christ, like the song by Black Sabbath, was Jesus Christ, just the name in the book. It was just the name in the book for me, but I did have head knowledge. You have something like that for you?
Well, we learn now that the word is installed in our heart, regardless of what we believe or what spiritual guidance we have. That it was already imprinted on our heart. So I always believed that there was a God. I didn't really believe much into the Jesus.
Right. I agree with that. I was the same way too. I always believed in a God. I remember looking up into the moon and talking to the moon. I'd sleep with the moon on me too, become a lunatic. But here I am years later, now I'm a lunatic. I think Matt can allude to that.
Yeah. I spent many nights sleeping under the moons, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I would say Black Sabbath was probably more of my spiritual guidance than the actual Bible.
Yeah.
It wasn't until just a year or so ago when I actually started opening the Bible and reading it, and having the passion to read it on my own, not just because they told us,
right,
or someone said I have to do something in it,
right,
just to have that the crave for it myself.
Right. So. Yeah. What led me to into the Bible and to Christ was a family crisis. My brother, he chose a lifestyle that I didn't like, and I'll leave it to you to figure it out for yourself. Anyway, I wanted to condemn him, and so I was reading every book I could in every religion I could to condemn the lifestyle, and we finally got into the Bible. And I forget, I think it might be Hebrews. It says, the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any two-edged sword.
Mm-hmm. Cutting through bone and marrow.
Soul and spirit.
Yeah, soul and spirit.
And, I got to the part where Jesus says, do not judge, judge not lest you be judged. And with the measure you use, so shall you be measured.
Mm-hmm.
And that sharp sword hit me inside. It's like cut me inside, and it's like, wow. And,
for me, when I started getting into it, how he says he'll unveil things to you,
mm-hmm.
reveal things. That's where I felt.
Like Jeremiah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like that Jesus was always there with me, of course, obviously. And the more I learned about him, the more he would reveal that those times in my past, I was like, oh, that like that was all real.
Right.
And he was there the whole time. That just things were unveiling. I was understanding more about why I was going through these things, or how being persecuted, or just suffering for Christ and all that. Just
Right.
yeah.
I agree with you too. Years later, as I look back in my life, I see where Jesus was in my life too.
Just waiting,
Right,
waiting for you to call upon him.
Right. And what happened for me was I used to walk to work because I crashed one of my cars in another drinking and driving incident. So I'd take the bus, walk the rest of the way to the punch in. And on the way, because I was in a bad relationship for 6 years, I would cry out to God, just to God. I didn't know who it was back then, but I just say, God, if you're real, let me know who you are. If you're real, I'll do anything you want me to do. And and all of a sudden, like you said, he started showing me things. He started showing me things.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say in the Catholic Bible, he manifests himself. He manifests himself to those who do not disbelieve him, and because I believe in God, and like Matt was saying, he always believed in God too. He showed both of us, himself. He manifested himself to me in the way that he showed me himself, and he manifested himself to Matt in the way that Matt understood.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, right. And it was probably two separate experiences too. The way he revealed himself to you is probably completely different than the way he did to me.
Right. Well, it's all individual experience.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's a great thing that it's like that too, because that's what makes it feel more personal.
Right. That's why they say it's not a religion; it's a relationship.
Relationship.
It's not. He's a personal God. He's a personal Savior. And I think that's why, even now to this day, I don't want to say anything negative to him, but now to this day, I think that's why the Jews still have a hard time with it, because they're looking for a national hero,
right?
Which is what they were doing in Jesus' time.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus came for the individual, not necessarily. Because Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world."
Right. Yep.
And so I think that's one thing you gotta kind of like really keep in mind, that it's individual relationship. It's when I was in AA years ago, I was told that it works out to be the cross. Actually, spirituality works this way, and religion works this way.
Right.
So that's the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got one of the letters of Paul saying that Jews look for signs and Greeks look for wisdom or knowledge, but we preach the cross of Christ, a stumbling block to Jews and Greeks alike.
That's right.
It's really true. Well, I think that, or it says, the wisdom of God is foolishness to man.
Yeah. If you're Gentile, the way Jesus spoke was in ways that they just wouldn't understand. His what's that called again? The way he spoke. He spoke in
Aramaic or Hebrew.
No, not the actual language, but I meant
parables.
Parables. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
Parables.
Right. It's because he wanted them to think about it.
Think. Spend time with him, as a word.
And then when they caught on, they really did like him so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they talk about the parable of the farmer and sending his servants out, and finally he said, "I shall send my son. Perhaps they will respect him."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was a very powerful parable right there.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't grow up with religion.
Nope.
You didn't have any brothers or sisters
Nope.
that could introduce you.
Nope.
So when was the first time that you really remember, learning something about Christ?
Learning something or like actually
Book knowledge.
experiencing it.
Even like book knowledge. For me, it was, book knowledge, head knowledge was in high school. But I always knew the name. I mean, my family had a family Bible, so it was kind of like in the family, but it was never discussed.
For me, it was like almost going to see a movie that you haven't seen the trailer to. Like I had no knowledge. You hear stuff somehow, some way. Obviously God, Jesus resurrected, came back from the dead. I knew
you had Easter. Right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, pretty much the Easter knowledge.
Christmas.
Yeah, like I had the cliff notes of the Bible, but once I got into it, it was just like everything was brand new. Everything was interesting to me and exciting. Just.
How did you feel as you started reading from Genesis to Revelation?
Genesis, starting in Genesis was great, and going into Exodus is great. But once you hit Leviticus, that's when it's just like, oh man,
all those laws, right? Yeah,
all the laws, all the names, the heritage of who's born from who, and just goes on and on and on. Which I'm glad it does, because it shows the root pretty much. But yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome. I have more books that hit home personally to me. More, maybe people like to read proverb or a psalm, in their morning daily routine or whatever.
I got three main books I like. Old Testament is Jeremiah and Isaiah.
Yeah.
John and Revelations definitely for the New Testament.
I like Daniel a lot because it shows like the story of them getting thrown in the flames and him with the lion's den. It just shows how his strength could really overcome, and that strong faith that they had kept them from those dangers. That's kind of how I like to see our lives.
The Son of Man in the furnace. Didn't I put 3 guys in there? I can only see 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You see 4, and Jesus was the 4th one. Even the man who threw them into the flames died from the flames.
Right.
So those were good. James, Hebrews, from the New Testament.
So can you tell me what's your experience with evangelizing? Have you had any evangelism experience so far while being here?
Yeah, not as much as I'd want, and the more it happens, the more I want it to happen. So I mentioned before a few months back that I was on a walk by the bay there, or the river, Connecticut River, and I met a young man who was sitting by the steps. I was also sitting by the steps. I was smoking, and I had no intentions of speaking to him. And he looked over at me, and he goes, he says, "This is peaceful." And right then, I'm already surrounded by this newfound knowledge that I've been into. I knew that the real peace that we can get is through Christ.
Right.
So I said back to him, I said, that's what you're seeking, is peace what you're seeking.
Right, yeah.
And I just took it and ran with it, and tried to preach the word to him as politely and warming, welcoming as I can. Mm-hmm. And I just remember how beautiful it was.
Non-condescending.
Yeah, exactly. Not, nothing really too hard that he wouldn't understand, but just that I tried to tell him that he had a place in God's army, pretty much. Yeah. That he has certain virtues and fruit he already had that he probably didn't know. Right. The value of it. So I just wanted to tell them that he was a perfect template of someone that God could really use.
How did that go? How did he react to that?
He reacted to it good, and I'm glad that he did, because it might have been my first moment of evangelizing with a complete total stranger.
Planting a seed.
Yeah, planting a seed, and it might have crushed me if if he didn't take it so well.
Right.
But it made me really happy. It made me, you know, almost kind of sad too.
Yeah.
You know, but
Why would you say sad?
sad just because I remember being in his position a little bit. You know, and I'm not
kind
really.
of like almost like remembering how you were, and it was almost like a mirror effect then.
Right, like he's probably in a position where I have to go to the river to find peace today.
Right. Yeah.
You know, he couldn't just be in his happy place, his quiet secret closet, open up the Bible and find peace just like that.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know how easy peace can really get
Right.
if you submit. So I just remember being that way, where I have to climb Sleeping Giant in New Haven today just so I can get a half hour and a cigarette of peace. You know. Where it's so much easier than that.
I remember my one real good time of evangelizing was about 22 years ago, when I was working in Northampton in the deli, and was working with this Jewish guy, and out of the blue he asked me if I believed in a collective unconscious or collective conscious. I forget exactly what the phrase was, but the collective conscious or unconscious he asked me about. And I said, sure, that's what Jesus was. He knew everybody's pain.
Right.
And from there, you know, he would ask me questions, and I'd tell him something, and we bounced it off of each other. But either way, at the end, he came out saying, wow, Jesus must have been a great guy.
Right.
He must have been awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And I tried to baptize him. Or ask him if he was ready to be baptized, but I think he didn't want to leave his Judaism.
I see.
I said, that's what he said, as a matter of fact. And I said, but you won't be really losing it behind. You'll just be fulfilling it or something like that. You know, you'll be completing your way. You know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, now working with Phil, our buddy Phil. You know, that's been great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Phil with his music, me with my poems, and you know, you played with Phil, and you know, so he's got a good heart too.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he has a great heart.
You know, and
he's really motivated.
Right.
So, I think it's important with evangelism is that we have to identify those divine appointments.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know when he's setting up an appointment,
right,
and you could be the one that's filling the appointment, or you could be the one that the appointment is for.
Ah, yes. I remember one time in Northampton, I was walking home from work on a bike path in Northampton, and there was this homeless man. His name was Carlos. I swear he must have been an angel, because we would talk, and he would share things with me. And one of the things I got out of that short time I had with him was, I asked him, I said, are homeless people because they're drunks and alcoholics? You know, drug addicts and alcoholics, are they homeless because of that? Or are they drug addicts and alcoholics because they're homeless? And he kind of put it in his situation anyway, that he was an addict and a drunk because of the situation of being homeless. To deal with the misery of not having any place to stay.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely one or the other.
So my perception, my misperception, I should say, of homeless being homeless because they're drug addicts and drunks was not right. And here's this guy I just meet on a bike path, and he tells me that they're miserable, so they you know, they try to use something to not be miserable.
Right. Yeah.
And it was only like 2 weeks. I only seen the guy for like 2 weeks, and that's why I'm saying he must have been an angel, like you said, a divine appointment. Either us for them, or them for us. And
right.
I think it was a divine appointment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you have to stay very open when you do have moments of evangelizing, because you can go back and forth. you might learn something. They might take something. You might not know they take something,
Right.
but they probably did.
Right.
You know, or at least that's the hope.
I think, like with my friend, he was like, wow, maybe inside your friend was like, wow,
Yeah,
kinda,
yeah, I hope so.
Right.
But shouts out to Carlos and shouts out to my friend Jeremy that I met that day.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since, and I've definitely gone on that path plenty of times after. But
So he was your angel.
maybe, or maybe he thought I was his. You never,
Could be, right?
you never know. So
Well, man, I'd like to thank you for coming on to Time with the Rev.
yes, thanks for having me, Rev.
It's been good having you here with me, and hope everybody had fun, learned something today, and God bless you all. Have a rest of the good night. God bless you all.